Jimmy beat Mark just a couple of tenths the last lap. They've been really just mirroring the lap times of each other, but Jimmy was just a little quicker the last lap.
You see these cars come off the corner. There goes Kenseth and Joey Logano. What a great job that young man's done all day long. Got himself up in 11th spot.
And moving in on the 10th place car of Matt Kenseth. Logano again had to go to a backup engine and had to go to the back of the field and has driven his way all the way through the field into what could quite possibly be a top 10 finish.
Yeah, very impressive by that young man today. Just done a really good job.
That lap there, they were almost identical lap times between the two leaders.
Again, if you just joined our coverage, the dominating car today was Juan Pablo Montoya, who's led 3 times for 116 laps, but a speeding penalty on pit road on the final stop. 2 different segments. He was over the speed limit. He had to come back on a pass-through penalty, and then the caution comes out because of the erupted engine for Dale Earnhardt Jr. He stays on the lead lap, and now mired back in traffic. Montoya not able to make much progress.
This perfect example as we see Michael Waltrip's car being pushed down pit road. Looks like they had some overheating problems earlier and it's finally maybe taking its toll, so he'll take that car behind the wall. But Montoya is a perfect example of what these drivers talk about with this car. You have it out front, you get it back in traffic, it's like driving something totally different. You just can't show the speed that you had when you were out front in that clean air.
Okay, Mark Martin beat Jimmy Johnson a 1/10 of a second that lap.
Yeah, Mark's a pretty smart guy in driving these cars. He might have got up there and saw that, okay, I'm going to have to save my car a little bit. It's abusing the right front a little too much when I get too close. Let's get inside of 10 laps, and then I'll make my run at him.
Well, how much discipline does that take when you're looking at the leaderboard and you see only 13 laps to go, and to back off and let him actually get away from you a little bit? That's hard to do, it seemed like to me.
It is, but it's still, as we said, even 10 laps, that's still 25 miles of racing that you have to get it done. Here we see Juan Pablo Montoya trying to take that 11th spot away from Joey Logano.
Well, not yet. He's trying.
Said trying, yeah.
There have been 3 caution flags for a total of 14 laps. There have been 7 different leaders. We mentioned Montoya had led the most laps, 9 lead changes. 12 laps to go in the 16th running of the Brickyard 400. Vince.
Well, guys, looking for the silver lining for Juan Pablo Montoya, and I know that he is, but his team talked about in figuring out how many points per race it would take to make the chase. The team concluded that if it would average a 14th place finish, it would make the chase. Well, they were 14th in the season opener at the Daytona 500, and their season average is 14.4. I guarantee you they won't be happy with where they finished today, but in the big picture, this might be a race that still helps them get to the 12-car chase.
They will get the 10 bonus points for leading the most laps today, so that helps a little bit. But when you thought you had a shot to win the Brickyard 400, it's going to leave a sour taste in the mouth.
Well, he had a lot more than a shot. He had the car to beat, absolutely. Had a 5-second lead. Man, this has got to be hard to take for that team.
Yeah, it really is, and he's not going to believe, and I don't even know when they show him that he's going to believe. He's fully convinced that he was not speeding, and it took his opportunity to win this race away. And just to give you an idea, I know points are a long way away, but when he was leading this race, he was up in the 6th spot in points. This right now, if he could finish right where he's at, he would be back in 10th, which is still inside of that top 12.
Up front, it is teammates Jimmy Johnson.
Bud, you focus on him. You get him here.
Jimmy Johnson and Mark Martin running 1-2. Dave.
And guys, these 2 teammates running together, you talked about how the motors are very equal, and it's a great matchup. This morning when I talked to Chad Knaus, he said, I don't feel like we're as good as we could be. Perhaps he knew that his teammate would be his strongest competition. And that radio transmission you just heard from Mark Martin, you know how he feels. He sees a spot on the racetrack where he thinks he can still pass Jimmy.
It's a never say die attitude for Mark Martin. Remember a couple weeks ago at Chicagoland Speedway, he told the guys, okay, from here on out, radio silence, because I'm going to go to war. Mark Martin saying he was going to get up on that wheel and do whatever he could. And right now he is doing everything he can think of to reel in that leader, Jimmy Johnson.
Guys, I tell you, Mark's just hunting really hard right now, trying to find the sweet spot on that racetrack where to pass the 48. And lap after lap, it looks like it's on the exit of turn 2. Mark leaves turn 2 and it runs up a little bit on Jimmy right there. And so if he can keep concentrating on that certain spot right there and try to catch Jimmy sleeping right there, it just might work for Mark.
I know one thing. If he's waiting on Jimmy Johnson to make a mistake, he'll have to wait a long time.
He's there. Yeah, but the other thing is, Rusty, he must be listening to you because he's doing exactly what you're talking. He's getting as low as he possibly can, keeping a little bit of air on the front of that. As we see here, Juan Pablo trying to take that spot away from Joey Logano again. Not able to make it. A little contact there.
They've swapped it back and forth now twice the last 2 laps with Montoya, or should say Logano and Kansas. Logano and Montoya in 11th and 12th position, and now Logano goes back by.
A lot of frustration inside the cockpit of that 42.
Yeah, but he did a good job there. He's also using his head, too. As frustrated as he is right now, he could have made that a much more worse situation by getting himself and Joey Logano in a bad spot.
Jimmy Johnson and Mark Martin, 0.4 of a second. That's a separation. About 5 car lengths here on the racetrack with 8 laps to go.
Well, Mark can't get his car any lower than what he's been through the corners here. You can see him sliding the thing out of the corners.
Yeah, Mark can run a couple of laps quicker than Jimmy, get within that 0.4 of a second lead, and then right there is where he seems to not be able to make any ground, and he'll actually lose a little bit for a lap. Like we see now, he's lost just a little bit of ground to Jimmy.
Like you said, Andy, and when you get in that position, all you can hope is that guy in front makes a mistake, and we've watched Jimmy Johnson win 3 straight championships. He doesn't make a mistake, as you said, very often.
Well, we had our champions roundtable discussion in the ring here during countdown. You guys, one of the first names that came out of your mouths was Jimmy Johnson. He is the guy that you're going to have to take it away from.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, we saw him be very dominant here last year. He obviously hasn't done that here today, but he's got himself in the position, and that's what these guys are so good at, making adjustments and giving themselves a chance to win. You said, I think, Andy, earlier in the show, Chad Knaus doesn't take that opportunity away from Jimmy Johnson. He puts him in that position, and then Jimmy takes it from there.
He just keeps him in the game. I mean, they didn't have, like you said, a dominant car or actually a winning car early in the race, but he just kept that car out there, kept him in contention, and then put him in a spot there on that restart that gives him a chance to win.
It's amazing how this team sort of stays around in the top 10 all year long, and then toward the end of the year they begin to come on. Last year it was race 29 after Kansas before they actually took the points lead.
6-4, Mark, 6-4.
He's got 6 laps to get it done again. Become our first back-to-back winner of the Brickyard 400.
That's Alan Gustafson trying to coach Mark Martin, trying to tell him how many laps there are to go. You know Mark's giving 110% right here.
There is Greg Biffle, and behind him the 14 of Tony Stewart. What a good job Greg Biffle has done. This would be his best career finish at the Brickyard in 7 starts.
Yeah, really good job. He's just been solid all day long. Very methodical and working his way up. There you see Tony Stewart, our in-race reporter, right behind him.
If Tony could hold on and finish in the 4th position, he will gain in the point standings. Right now he has a 187-point lead over Jimmy Johnson. It is Stewart the leader, then Jimmy Johnson, and Jeff Gordon would move back to 3rd in the standings.
Well, don't forget, when we came into this race, Greg Biffle was really outside the chase looking in. He's now in the chase. If he can finish there, he'll move up a couple of spots in the points to 11th.
Yeah, Biffle was actually 9th a couple of weeks ago, but the abysmal finish and the troubles at Chicagoland cost him 2 positions. Behind these two, Brian Vickers having a great run today. He's been in the top 5 all afternoon, so a very consistent run for the Red Bull team. There's Vickers.
And right behind him, you see Kevin Harvick having the best day of his year so far.
And with just 5 to go, the 5 car is moving in.
It doesn't take much. Looked like Mark has decided now's the time to make his run at Jimmy Johnson.
And we have some traffic up ahead that could figure into this finish.
You can see Jimmy pull down. He's trying to break any kind of a draft that Mark Martin could get to get inch closer to his back bumper.
You got him. Go get him.
That's Gustafson talking to his driver, Mark Martin.
We told you the last 3 years the driver who led with 10 laps to go has not won the race. Jimmy Johnson led with 10 laps to go today.
I tell you, folks, if you don't think these guys are driving that, you can see both of the back of those cars wiggle as they came out of turn 1.
And this is one of those tracks that's even doubly hard because it takes discipline on these flat racetracks, too, to not make a mistake. And your inclination is to really go after it, and that can hurt you sometimes.
In the 15-year history of this Brickyard 400, there has never been a last lap pass for the victory. But that could change.
Could change. We got 3 laps to go here when they come by.
These cars are so equally matched.
Teammates, so much respect with these two drivers driving for Rick Hendrick. Jimmie Johnson, a 3-time champion. And here's a couple of guys still pushing and shoving on the racetrack. The rookie Logano not taking it from Montoya, and Montoya not taking it from Logano.
Well, he does. Montoya does get the spot. Here he goes. Look at Mark trying to make a move on Jimmy. Or is that more Jimmy moving out of the way trying to break the draft?
I think part of that is just like Rusty Wallace said, Mark Martin's able to make a really good run out of turn 2, and that gets him a good head of steam down the back straightaway, and that might be where Mark's going to try to make his move as the laps wind down here. He's only got a couple more shots though.
Got a good run off turn 4. Elliott Sadler, the lap car. You see Jimmy drafting off of Elliott.
2 laps to go. They are 5 miles away from the checkered flag.
Okay, that's turn 1. We'll see turn 2. That's where Mark Martin's been able to gain a little bit on Jimmie Johnson. Let's see if he can do that on the exit. See, he can get back to the throttle hard right there.
Well, that was a good
Here he comes.
exit. Nice run right here.
Here comes Martin on the outside. Does he have enough oomph? Johnson now able to pull him by still a couple of car lengths.
He's going to have one more shot at that place. See if he can get a little closer to him as they get in turn 2.
Well, he sure got Jimmy worried looking in that mirror.
Yes, he does.
Coming out of turn 4 for the white flag this time, and Mark Martin will have one more shot in the south end of the racetrack. Jimmy knows he needs to get all he can get here on this front straightaway. Look at him moving from inside to outside. White flag.
Jimmy's doing everything he can to keep him back there, not letting him get too close to the bumper. He doesn't want to get the opportunity to get him loose. Here's Mark's spot coming up. Got one more run at him.
This time down the back straightaway, Jimmie Johnson stays in the middle of the racetrack and will pull him by a couple of car lengths. 2 turns away from the checkered flag. Turn 3.
Well, Martin just needs a couple of car lengths to try to loosen him up.
Man, he drove it hard in there and out of that corner. That's why Jimmie Johnson's champion right there, folks.
Out of turn 4, headed for the checkered flag, and 3-time NASCAR Sprint Cup champion Jimmie Johnson becomes a 3-time winner at the Brickyard 400.
First time anybody's ever won it back-to-back.
Stewart gets Biffle there at the end.
Awesome, dude. You are absolutely incredible. Just incredible. Never had it.
Great effort.
I am very proud of you, buddy. Incredible, incredible job. Earl, great job. Guys, great job, everybody.
Jimmie Johnson waving to the crowd. Tony Stewart coming up alongside to wave a congratulations to Jimmie Johnson.
Biffle's giving him a little nudge
from behind.
Yep, good day for Biffle in 4th place.
So another 1-2 sweep in a NASCAR race, second race in a row for Hendrick Motorsports. Jimmie Johnson, Mark Martin finishes 2nd. As you mentioned, Tony Stewart getting by Greg Biffle in the last lap to finish 3rd. Biffle 4th, and Brian Vickers 5th.
Kevin Harvick was able to hang on to that 6th spot as we see Rick Hendrick climb down.
Celebrated his 60th birthday just a week ago, and teammate Jeff Gordon coming by to wave in the window to his teammate Jimmie Johnson in the car, by the way, he co-owns.
Yeah, I believe that's 7 victories here for Rick Hendrick. 4 with Gordon and 3 with Jimmie Johnson. It's pretty amazing. We've only run 16.
Very disappointing day for Juan Pablo Montoya, though, after leading 116 laps. The penalty takes him away from a chance to win the Brickyard 400.
Yeah, he'll end up in the 11th spot.
Team coming by, high-fiving Jimmie Johnson, and they know that there are so many great traditions in racing, and one of the all-time greats that everyone wants to be a part of is kneeling to kiss those bricks.
And there's Chad Knaus. He's congratulating his driver, who just did an incredible job to win this thing.
Yeah, he just told him he was an incredible driver, and I think that Jimmie Johnson's proven that to everyone.
And there's Rick.
Yeah.
There's Mr. Rick.
And what a find by Jeff Gordon and Rick Hendrick to take Jimmie Johnson, who hadn't even won a Busch race at the time, and bring him in, put him in this situation with Chad Knaus. What a team they've become.
So Jimmie Johnson wins the Brickyard 400 for the 3rd time, and now we'll head back to Victory Lane. We'll talk with the winner when we come back.
The Brickyard 400 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, presented by Golden Corral. For around $10, no place can match Golden Corral's new Thrill of the Grill. And in part by AT&T, your world delivered.
33-year-old Jimmie Johnson has won the Brickyard 400 for the 3rd time. And he did it in fine style here, having to hold off a tenacious teammate, Mark Martin, for those final 25 laps. See Jimmie Johnson coming by with a checkered flag. Let's go down and visit with Mark Martin. Vince.
Well, Mark Martin has been one of the big stories here all weekend long, and you were chasing your teammate there toward the end. Looked like you made a couple of moves, a couple of runs at him. Did you just not have enough to get by?
Well, I sure did want to. He was better than I was off of 4, and I was better than he was off of 2. So, you know, I knew I had to make it happen off of 2, but wadding it up wasn't a great idea either. And both of us were driving for all we were worth, and I couldn't get him.
You said in the pre-race show today that this was going to be a dogfight. You anticipated a battle to the very end. Can you just kind of give us a synopsis of how the racing was during the course of the 160 laps? And, of course, we saw the fierce finish.
I was just, I asked for a chance, to be in the fray. And Alan and all our 5 team, Kellogg's CarQuest, and all the guys that support us, everybody at Hendrick Motorsports, gave me a chance, and that's all I asked for.
One of the first to congratulate Mark Martin on his good run today, Jimmie Johnson crew chief Chad Knaus. Rick Hendrick now putting an arm around Mark Martin. Martin up 2 spots in the points to number 9.
There's Jimmie Johnson trying to make his way, and everyone congratulating up and down pit road. And of course, much of the day belonged to Juan Pablo Montoya. Let's go down to Jamie.
And Juan Pablo Montoya, after leading 116 laps, what was it like to hear that over the radio you got a penalty?
It kind of sucks, but it's what it is. Everybody at the Target Chevy did an amazing job. I thought it was on the speed, and we got lights. I was on the lights every time, and actually that lap came in slower than the previous one, and they said you're speeding. So it's what it is. We had a deal like that before, and once it happens, you can't change it. So it's pretty frustrating, but it shows where we're going with the team.
What was it like to be out there leading again at Indianapolis Motor Speedway?
Actually, it reminded me of the last time I led here. It was kind of easy, to be honest. I was cruising. The car was stupid fast.
You only lost 1 position in the points. Where's your head right now as you look forward?
Same thing, just top 10s. Try to get top 10s every week and, ride every week because, things like that can really throw a championship.
All right, Juan Pablo, cool head has prevailed, guys.
He will be credited with an 11th place finish here today after leading 3 times for 116 laps. Looking down on our Degree V12 Victory Lane here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and let's go down to Dave Burns.
And the cheers of his crew after a battle like I don't think we've seen here ever, and probably the most hard-fought Brickyard 400 you've ever had, Jimmy.
That was unbelievable. I hope the fans enjoy that race. I can't say enough about this race team and all of Hendrick Motorsports to be up there battling with my teammate Mark Martin. Damn, is he fast. For an old guy, had me pretty worried. It's great to work with him, work with Alan, work with all my teammates in Hendrick Motorsports, the Schoolball Tools and Paul and Victory Lane. And those last 15, 20 laps, man, we had to drive it so hard to stay ahead of the 5. I was better in 3 and 4 than he was, and he had me beaten 1 and 2, and it was kind of a give and take thing that was going on. Luckily, we held him off.
You got him on the last restart, and that seemed to be one of the keys because then you had the clean air.
Yeah, clean air was everything. You could only get so close to the car in front of you. You had a few laps on new tires to really take advantage of something, but I got that restart and put on a great show for the fans. I hope they enjoyed it, or that they enjoyed it. I think, you know, Sprint for all that they've done, NASCAR, Goodyear for a great tire. That's the way to go racing.
Now, you told DJ when you were golfing with him this week that you thought you could win. Chad told me this morning he'd be cool with the top 5, so I guess you were right, huh?
I was speaking before we got on the racetrack. We had some issues through race practice yesterday. We had a decent car, not the best car, and he made some great changes to the race car over the night. And we were one of the few cars that could work through traffic and pass guys, and we passed that last car at the end and got it won.
Jimmy, 2 of your championships were won in years where you won the Brickyard 400. Do you feel like this team has the momentum going? I'm looking over there, too. He can come in here next. Come on in here, Mark. Let's hold that question. How much respect do you have for him?
It's hard to put it into words, to be honest with you. He is such a perfectionist, loves driving these race cars, loves working for this race team, and I think he's opened the eyes of all of us at Hendrick Motorsports at how we can love our jobs a little more and try a little harder, so it's great to work with him.
All right, championship potential, Jimmy?
Yeah, you know, we're doing things right. The last 4 or 5 weeks, we've had a shot at winning races and just come up a little short the way things have shaken out at the end. So I feel we've got our form. We've led a lot of laps in the last 10 races, probably the most, more than anyone. And now that we're getting close to the chase, that's nice that we're winning races again and can buckle down and focus on a 4th.
The 3-time Sprint Cup champion is now a 3-time Brickyard 400 champion. Doc.
In his 275th career start, Jimmy Johnson makes Brickyard 400 history, becoming the first driver to win in back-to-back years. He also becomes the first winner to ever lead his first lap this late in the race. He did not lead a lap until lap 137 and then led the final 24 laps. The 16th running of the Brickyard 400 is history, and what a day for Jimmy Johnson. Aerial coverage provided by our good friends at Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. New Fuel Max tires help you have a winning fuel strategy. Jimmy Johnson had the winning strategy today. They worked on the race car, and he led the final 24 laps of the race. He will gain a spot in the NASCAR Sprint Cup point standings. Jeff Gordon goes back 1. You see Carl Edwards up a spot. And, of course, Mark Martin up 2 positions there to 9th position. Tony Stewart is the points leader. Let's go down to Shannon.
Doc, Tony Stewart said that he judges this season based on consistency, rates this season based on consistency. How would you rate the run here today?
Well, I think we were pretty consistent today. I mean, we had one just minor hiccup that we lost 4 spots in the pits, but got half of those back in the first 10 laps after the restart and got back up where we wanted to be toward the end there. We weren't fast enough to run with Mark and Jimmy, but we were just a little bit too tight in the center. But really proud of Darren Grubb and everybody on this Old Spice Office Depot team. Our Chevy was awesome, and really proud of our organization. It's awesome to be able to come here our first time and finish in the top 3 like this.
Tony, you love this state, you love this track. Was this what the fans needed to make up for last season?
Yeah, I mean, I really got to give Goodyear a pat on the back. I mean, not once did I don't think any of us in the field have to worry about the tires. We were able to run as hard as we wanted to run right off the bat and not have to worry about that. And that's due to a lot of hard work and effort from Goodyear and the teams and drivers that came here and tested to get ready for this race. There were a lot of laps put down by a lot of teams, and it costs a lot of money to do that. But, it shows the commitment that NASCAR and Goodyear and the teams made to making sure that the fans had a good show today.
Tony Stewart is still your points leader. He extends his lead to 192, the largest of the season. Vince?
Well, Brian Vickers had a good day today, a top 5 finish, but as he just said, well, not good enough because I'm not standing down there in victory lane. But in the big picture of things, to come here, run top 5, as difficult as this track is, and some of the issues you had, I know you had a tire going down late. In the big picture, how do you feel about it?
The big picture was a good day. We couldn't risk ruining a good points day to go chase the bricks, but, man, it'd been nice to win. So proud of the Red Bull crew. We had a great car all day. I think if we'd have got the track position, we would have had a shot at it, but it wasn't for lack of a great pit crew. They did a phenomenal job all day on pit road. There, that last run, we had a left rear going down, and it was pretty low by the end of the run. We were lucky to hang on to 5th, but it is what it is.
How difficult is it to race to race, knowing that the contract situation is still out there and in flux? Do you feel like you're racing for an opportunity to continue on in this sport, or are you confident of where your situation is headed?
No, not at all, actually. We've agreed to all the terms. That's not the situation at all. They've said they wanted to re-sign me. That's fine. If not, I've explored all my options. There's a lot of options out there, so that's good to know. Makes you feel good for sure, but right now I'm just trying to go get a trophy, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Brian Vickers, a good representative of Red Bull, and gave it a good run for Toyota here today, Dave. Hey, Vince, we caught up with Chad Knaus, who engineered yet another victory here today in a car that you told me wasn't your best, but you'd take a win if you could get it there. How did you get that car there?
I think that, you just have to look at the hard work by everybody on the Lowe's team. They just did such a fantastic job. We changed an awful lot this morning and, relied on our teammates an awful lot with the 24 car and the 5 car with Alan Gustin and those guys and looking at what the 88 did. And, Picker had great pit stops and we were able to pass cars today, and there weren't a lot of people on the racetrack that could actually pass. So that was a nice, reassuring feeling once we started the race and we could see him start to march his way up there. So we knew if we could get out front towards the end that we would have something for him. How satisfying is it to you knowing you and Alan basically shared everything, and then your guys fought it out at the end? I mean, that's the way that we love it. The 24 car and us a couple years ago, I think we won over half the races in the series. And when you're able to do that intercompany, that's really fun. It shows the fruits of the labors of us trying to work together and us trying to make everybody work together and sit down. And it's demanding. It's demanding to have all the crew chiefs and the drivers get on calls and get in meetings and do things like that. But I think when you see performances like this, that's what shows the fruit. The success of Hendrick Motorsports, guys.
The 5th 1-2 finish for Hendrick Motorsports here in 2009. And they have loaded that car as full as they can get it to take a victory celebration ride. This is the 11th win here, by the way, for Chevrolet. 7th in a row and the 7th win at Indianapolis for Hendrick Motorsports. There are 6 races remaining until we start the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. If you'd like a ticket to the chase, we'll be in Pocono next week, Watkins Glen, Michigan. Oh, how about Bristol, Thunder Valley on a Saturday night in August. www.nascar.com/tickets. They are available, and that's where we're going to be as we head to the chase to see who will become the 2009 NASCAR Sprint Cup champion. What we do know is the 2008 champion has won another time at the Brickyard 400. Coverage of Major League Baseball continues on ESPN with 2 nights of action. First catch Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell at 8 Eastern as the Jermaine Dye and the Chicago White Sox take on the American League Central rivals, the Detroit Tigers, led by Miguel Cabrera. Then on Monday Night Baseball presented by Holiday Inn at 7 Eastern, 2 of the best hitters in the game take the field as Manny Ramirez and the Los Angeles Dodgers face Albert Pujols and the Cardinals. Major League Baseball on ESPN and ESPN 360. There is the Brickyard 400 winning team. Chad Knaus sitting there, Jimmy Johnson in the middle, and of course all the guys waving to the crowd here. Well, let's go down and visit with Joey Logano, who had a great run. Shannon.
Doc, after starting in the back of the field because of an engine change, Joey Logano comes away with the 12th place finish. But we were just talking about it, and you're not 100% satisfied. Why not?
I think we had a better car than where we finished, but that'll happen when you start in the back at a place that's so hard to pass. So we do everything we can do with the Home Depot Toyota. We just it seems like we're really good on the restarts, and then as the laps kept going, even if you were a little bit faster, by the time you got there, your car would get tight, and then you burn the right front off, and then everyone's the same. So cautions would have been perfect for us to maybe do some pitch strategy, or even the restarts. Like I said, we were really good at that. So, oh well, I mean, we still come at 12th place finish. It's a decent finish for where we started, and we'll head to the next racetrack.
Joey, most rookies don't get the opportunity to run with all of the leaders in the top 10, top 12, battle with Montoya, a 2,500 winner. What was that like for you? What did you learn today here?
It's fun. I tell you, it's really cool racing with Juan and stuff. We were running out there. We were running hard, so that was fun, But just being around this racetrack and getting around it, and saying, what, I got a good race car, and if I was up there, maybe I would have a shot at this thing. That's pretty neat. I just think clean air would have been big, but we'll go to the next one. You know what I mean? It's just a little tough when you're starting it back.
Joey Logano holding down the fort for the Joe Gibbs Racing Camp. 12th place finish today. Jamie?
Another Hendrick member, Jeff Gordon, started 22nd. He ended up 9th. So, Jeff, your overall impressions of how the car raced today with this new tire?
I mean, the tire was pretty good. It would take off with a lot of grip, and then the grip would go away. So that's kind of what you search for. You know, this is a tough racetrack. It always has been. You know, it's kind of a one groove, and it's very tough to pass. So, you know, I felt like we didn't have quite as good a car as we needed in traffic, but the speed was certainly there. Under the green flag stops, I felt like we were as good as anybody, and we could make some passes. But, you know, once we got bunched up on those double file restarts, I just wasn't as good, especially that last one I got on the outside. So, you know, decent day for DuPont Chevrolet, great day for Jimmy and Chad and all the guys on that Lowe's Chevrolet and Hendrick Motorsports. You know, I really thought Mark was going to get it, but, you know, it's great to see it come home to Rick and another Brickyard 400, which is pretty spectacular.
You guys finished, as you mentioned, first, second, ninth. We're going on to Pocono next week. A lot of people compare the two. Your expectations for next week?
Well, a totally different tire, and I think there's no comparison, you know, other than got to have good power and you know, get through the tunnel turn, and it's the only turn that's similar to these turns. I'm certainly anxious to get there. You know, I feel like we've got a lot of good things working for us. We got to get a little bit better, and we're going to go to the next race and try to do that, and you know, keep trying to get ourselves prepared to win this championship when it all starts.
All right, and Jeff Gordon just slips one position. He sits third in points.
Jamie, you'll have to wait till next year to become possibly the first 5-time winner here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the oval, because his teammate in the car he co-owns, Jimmy Johnson, has become a 3-time Brickyard 400 champion. Back in just a moment. The tradition at Indianapolis, the winners and the entire team kiss the bricks. Rick Hendrick, Chad Knaus, Jimmy Johnson, Jimmy's wife Shanny, all lining up with the crew there to kiss the bricks. The yard of bricks that is so emblematic of the history of this place, 100 years old. And Jimmy Johnson now has won the Brickyard 400 for a 3rd time. Johnson becomes the first driver in this race's 16-year history to win it in back-to-back seasons. Let's go down where Vince is caught up with the 4th place finisher.
Greg Biffle with a solid top 5 today, finishing 4th here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's a good run. How would you assess it? Was it as good as it seemed at the finish?
It was. You know, I mean, when you're shutting your car off coasting half the straightaway, that's certainly not going as fast as you can go. And we just had to move over and let Tony Stewart go by to save enough fuel to finish the race. And, you know, we're thinking back Michigan leading with a half a lap running out of gas. So we wanted to get the 3M piston earplug Ford Fusion here on the grid, you know, and we knew 4th was better than 3rd if we could finish. And so that's what we decided to do, a little fuel mileage strategy. And, you know, we just thank the fans for coming out and watching today. After what happened last year, hats off to Goodyear, all the hard work they did to put on a great race here today.
And started out this race just outside the chase in 13th position. You picked up 2 spots to number 11. How big is that in the big picture?
It's big, you know, but I think of the little things. I think of that 5 points I gave to Tony Stewart, just having to, you know, let him go to save enough fuel. But with 4 laps to go, and we'll have to wait and see. We'll check our fuel and see if we could have made it. But we're happy to get back on track, 4th place. We're pretty happy. Good run for Greg Biffle in the 16 today.
What a day for Carl Edwards. Started 41st on owner points, Carl, and you finished 15th. Sum up today for us.
We didn't start on points. I qualified that bad. But what was that?
Owner points.
Oh, we made it a provisional? No, great. Even better. Well, we started near the back, and we worked really hard, and I drove as hard as I could, but passing was very difficult. I never thought I'd welcome those double file restarts here like I did. I couldn't wait for the restarts. That was when I could make up a little ground. But, you know, my Aflac Fusion was decent. I think if we were up front in clean air, I could have run really well. But as it was, we needed another 400 miles to make it up there to race with those guys. But, you know, definitely a solid day, you know, points-wise for us.
A lot of people measure how they run at Indianapolis. For next week in Pocono, where do you guys stand for next week?
Yeah, that's a great point. Pocono has a lot of similarities to Indianapolis, but we ran so well there, you know, the previous race, and it's a little more simple to pass at Pocono. So I'm excited. We couldn't be going to a better racetrack. I felt like we were the fastest car last time, and hopefully it'll be that way again.
Tough weekend turns out decent for Carl Edwards.
Nice comeback for Carl today to get a top 20 finish. Guys, your final thoughts on what we saw here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway?
I'm just so disappointed, you know, for Juan Pablo Montoya. He had such a great car, and those guys really felt like they could reach out and touch this one. But what a great job Jimmy Johnson did to beat his teammate Mark Martin.
Yeah, it would have been great to see 50-year-old Mark Martin go to victory lane here too. But Jimmy Johnson and Chad Canal show why they are the 3-time reigning champions of this sport. They make adjustments. They're the best on pit road and making adjustments and getting their car right whenever it counts, and that's at the end. And that man right there, Jimmy Johnson, is the best driver out here. He gets it done whenever it counts.
And could Jimmy Johnson become the first driver in history to win 4 NASCAR Sprint Cup titles in a row? It's going to be a very interesting chase here down the wire in 2009. Jimmy Johnson and wife Shani headed over to the media discussions there after winning it in back-to-back years. Well, lots of motorsports updates and action to come your way. NHRA action, the Fram Autolite Finals at Sonoma tonight at 9:30 Eastern Time on ESPN2. Of course, later tonight, NASCAR Now, 12:30 a.m. We'll recap everything that's happened today. Of course, NASCAR Now Roundtable tomorrow at 5 o'clock Eastern Time, presented by Home Depot. NASCAR Nationwide action, the GoDaddy.com action at Iowa next Saturday. And, of course, next Sunday, the NASCAR Sprint Cup at Pocono, the Tricky Triangle presented by Old Spice. That's 1 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPN. Of course, post-race coverage coming up after this. We'll be on SportsCenter post-race updates from what's happening here and ESPN News. Rick Hendrick signing autographs as Jimmy Johnson has become now a 3-time winner here at Indianapolis.